So over the last year, I've had more and more of you guys inquire about buying new construction or brand new renovations directly from builders or developers. Now, that's obviously a great idea, right? I mean, buying a brand new product or a brand new home is, first of all, it's awesome, right? You're getting beautiful luxury product. There's tons of other advantages, like you're gonna have maintenance-free home for likely quite a while. You don't need to worry about any renovations or major things like roofs, mechanicals, and all that stuff, right? So the advantages are absolutely amazing. But that being said, working with developers and builders is not always necessarily as smooth as maybe buying a regular single family, right? The process can be a little bit more complex. There's typically more contracts involved. There's a lot more things going back and forth, and it's just a lot more dynamic in general. So I thought I would make this video for you guys, really detailing out the process of what it's like to actually work with developers and builders to buy that brand new luxury home, right? We'll talk about everything from how to evaluate the work of a builder, right, and a developer, to the transactional differences and some of the key contracts that you're probably going to see when working with builders and developers. So if you've been thinking about buying a brand new luxury home but are a little uncertain about the process of working with builders and developers, stay tuned, because this video is going to certainly help you out. So with that, let's get at it. What's going on, guys? My name's Lior and welcome back to my channel. Now, before we get into today's meat and potatoes, two super quick things for you guys. Number one, if this is your first time on my channel, make sure you smash that subscribe button. I put out tons of new videos every single week talking about everything from lifestyle in Greater Boston, overviews of different neighborhoods, tips on buying, tips on selling, tips on real estate investing, and everything in between. So if that's the kind of content you're looking for, make sure you smash that subscribe button. And number two, if you guys are thinking about doing anything with real estate, whether it's buying, selling, investing, leasing, whatever it is, I get so many calls from you guys watching my videos, and it still blows my mind every single time. And I absolutely love it. So if you've been thinking about doing anything with real estate around Greater Boston area, hit me up on email, phone, text, Instagram, Facebook, whatever it is, and I will definitely help you out. So with that, let's get into the meat and potatoes of this video, which is all about working with developers and builders to buy new construction and newly renovated homes. Now, the way I'm going to break this video down is, first I'm going to talk about what are the types of different new renovations and construction projects that you can buy from. Then we'll talk about assessing builders and builder quality. And finally, I'll talk about some of the unique aspects transactionally you need to expect and understand if you're gonna have a successful transaction buying a brand new renovation. So let's dive right into it and start off with the different types of renovations you can buy. And the first type of renovation, which is probably the most easy and most obvious to understand, is brand new construction. And with brand new construction, it's exactly what you probably picture, and it's probably exactly what you think it is. It is literally everything is brand new from the ground up, right? So the builder or developer is taking a raw piece of land, right? They're pouring a brand new foundation, going up with the framing, and then literally everything inside is brand new. You're gonna have brand new plumbing, electrical, mechanicals, new subflooring, exterior shell, new siding. Literally everything is brand new. And the obvious advantage of that is, again, everything's brand new. There's nothing old. All your big stuff is also brand new. So there's very, very little maintenance to really worry about for the foreseeable future. The second type of renovation project you might buy, especially in the Greater Boston area, it's a super common, is a gut rehab. And a gut rehab is kind of like new construction, but there's some key differences. Basically what a gut rehab is a developer or builder will take an existing building, and this could be a single family and this could be a multifamily, and they're essentially first going to gut the existing building down to the studs, right? So if you picture an old house, they are literally gonna tear absolutely everything from the inside. This means all the walls, fixtures, finishes, all the mechanicals, all the wiring, all the plumbing, and you're essentially gonna start with a shell, if you can picture it, right? You're literally starting with an empty shell. The existing foundation is also still there, but that's basically your base point. And then from there on, the developer is essentially gonna treat it like new construction, right? From there on, they're gonna put in all new, brand new plumbing, all new, brand new electrical. They'll probably, they might even do brand new subfloors. They'll patch up the shell on the exterior, put up brand new siding, put up obviously a brand new roof, and then throw up walls and all new finishes, right? So essentially it is new construction, and a lot of people do count gut rehabs as new construction. Again, the only difference is you use the existing foundation and you're kind of using the existing shell structure as opposed to going brand new. And finally, you kind of have just buying some sort of renovation, right? This is not necessarily a gut rehab. This is something where a flipper or a builder or developer will kind of do a patch job, right? So maybe the house or the old house was in pretty good condition. It didn't need to be completely torn apart, but maybe it needed a gutted, maybe the builder or flipper gutted the kitchen, maybe they gutted the baths, maybe they patched up the flooring. In these kinds of scenarios, it's a little tricky, right? Because you can have a lot more variance. You can have more extensive renovations where they'll kind of do some new electrical here, some new plumbing here, or maybe they do a lot less mechanicals, they do a lot more cosmetics, right? Where they're only kind of just doing cosmetic finishes. So there's obviously a lot more variance if they're kind of in the regular renovation scope. So you just need to understand that, as there is no real set rule, right? It's just whatever that builder or flipper, whatever they decide to do, that's kind of what you're gonna be buying from them. Now, with all that being said, probably one of the biggest worries most people have about buying any sort of renovation, right? Whether it's a renovation, gut rehab, or new construction, is the quality of the work and the quality of the builder, right? So in terms of that, let's actually talk about how the real estate industry or the building industry works a little bit. So on your typical renovation, right? Let's say you're looking at a single family that was maybe patched up and flipped by a local flipper. You can have a wide range of expertise of people doing that, right? That could be someone that's doing their very first project and it's their very first flip. Maybe they got excited by HGTV or something, right? So that could be anything from that kind of flipper to someone that's been in the business for 20, 30 years, and that's just the kind of work they like to do, right? They don't like to go ground up, or maybe they found a deal that they liked and they were able to just patch it up without having to do too much extensive work. So you can really have quite a bit of a wide range here. There's no real set like base expertise level to do a kind of your regular patch/renovation job. So just understand that there could be some variance here. Now, if we're gonna be talking about gut rehabs, especially if it's a large single family in nicer areas, or if it's gonna be large condo conversion projects, right? Like 2 or 3 families. Once you're going into gut rehab range, now you're starting to talk about much larger scopes of work. And typically what we see, especially in the Boston area, is the guys or gals that are doing that tend to be relatively experienced, right? Because first of all, those are really quite big projects, right? If you see those 2 or 3 families that are getting gut rehabbed and condoed out, those renovation budgets are anywhere from $400,000 to $700,000, right? So we're not talking about small money. This is pretty significant sums of money, and it's not like some brand newbie who's never done a project before can just go get the financing to do that kind of project. And finally, for new construction, as you might imagine, that's obviously the most intense kind of project, right? That requires the most expertise. And again, as a rough rule of thumb, you typically see only really experienced builders and developers playing in that field. Again, very, very unlikely that a brand newbie who's never done a project or maybe 1 or 2 projects is gonna go tackle a brand new construction single family or brand new development of townhomes or condo project. It's just very, very unlikely. The people, especially around the Boston area, that are doing those projects tend to be very well financed, tend to be very well capitalized, and tend to have very, very strong resumes and portfolios of past projects done. Now, to give a little bit more detail about that, doing due diligence on the builder, again, even though I kind of gave you rough rules of thumb of what to expect in terms of expertise level, we still typically want to do a little bit more due diligence, right? So depending on the type of project, depending on the type of city, when you go buy new construction, we'll usually just gut check, usually just double check and evaluate the builder based on their reputation in the industry. Believe it or not, real estate is a very, very small industry, and people that do crappy work are very, very well known. So, we'll typically dig into their reputation. If someone like your realtor, like me, who doesn't know them, usually someone within our networks probably has heard of their quality, the type of work they do, etc. So it won't be too hard to confirm the quality, the reputation, and the type of work that local builder or developer does. But again, this is something, if this does become an issue or this is something of a question mark, again, it's very easy to continue to do more due diligence, dig further in, and really find out the truth about that particular builder. So now that we kind of talked about that, let's talk about some of the specifics that are transactional specifics that are very unique to actually buying a renovation project, gut rehab, or new construction home. So the first thing that most people typically ask about is customization. And here's the deal with customization. Yes, when working with a builder or developer, there's certainly some opportunity to customize your home, right? You can customize things like paint colors, potentially you can customize things like a tile design or types of finished tiles, maybe types of appliances. So there's certainly sometimes the builder will allow you to select those design choices. Now, that doesn't happen all the time, but I've seen it often enough. But here's the thing you need to know. If you're gonna go beyond that, right, and really starting asking for very specific personalizations, anything from like layout changes to something that's a lot heavier in cost, that's more specific for you, that's gonna be trickier to do. And typically the only way builders will do that is if you go what's called hard on your escrow, or at least part of your escrow. So basically what that means is, in a transaction, you're gonna have some sort of escrow funds that you put in the deal. In order to really customize a home, some builders will ask for for that escrow to essentially be non-refundable money, right? And basically the reason they do that is they wanna protect themselves, right? Because if they're gonna order something that's very specific to you or unique to you, or if you're asking for a layout change that they didn't really wanna do, they wanna protect themselves in case you change your mind, let's say 2 or 3 weeks before they close, right? They don't want to be stuck holding the bag. So that's why if you're really going to get super detailed and you're going to have very specific customizations list, be ready to go non-refundable on partial or full sum of your escrow deposit, because that's just something that a lot of builders will require. Next, when you're buying from a builder or developer or any sort of renovation, typically, when you're going through the transactional process, in addition to having your standard documents like the offer to purchase and the purchase and sales, you're gonna have something that's called a spec sheet. And in that spec sheet, basically what a builder will provide is a full list of details of all the details that are gonna be completed in the home, right? And this is gonna be everything from details on finishes, like flooring, appliances, paint colors, types of tiles, any sorts of fixtures, any sorts of specific details on mechanicals, any exterior features, right? But basically, there's gonna be a very detailed list that's gonna be worked out between your realtors as well as the attorneys involved, between both you and the builder. That way, everything is specifically in writing so that there's no confusion about what the builder will put in versus not put into the final product. So if it's early enough in the process too, and you're negotiating with the builder, along with the spec sheet, sometimes I see what's called an allowance sheet being built into here. And basically, again, if you're gonna do some sort of light customization, like potentially paint, different types of tile, maybe some sort of specific finishes or something, the builder will give you what's called an allowance sheet, right? And they'll say, hey, look, if you wanna customize your bathroom tile or your backsplash, that's fine, you can go to a local tile shop. Here's the allowance we're gonna give you, and then here's the budget you have to buy your tile, right? So they'll give you your budget, you can go down to the tile store or whatever, Home Depot, Lowe's, whatever you choose, and ask, and then basically shop around for your tile or your finish of choosing based on that allowance that the builder has given you. Next thing that is also gonna be kind of unique to buying a construction project is something called a punch list, right? Because basically what happens is if you, let's say you have the transaction, right? You sign a purchase and sales while the home is still finishing up construction. Typically what you'll see is that, at the very end, once the builder says, hey, I'm basically done, there's still typically a couple of things that need to be finished, right? Usually it's maybe a couple of paint marks here and there, maybe the tile wasn't installed exactly the right way, or something isn't working, something just here is a little bit off, right? That's one of the advantages with working with a builder is, you can ask them to essentially get the home perfect prior to you closing on it, right? So what we do is what's called a punch list, right? So again, once the construction is basically done or just about finished up, you and your realtor are gonna walk to the home and basically jot down a list of items that the builder needs to fix in order for your satisfaction, right? Again, this is not typically extensive work. These are typically little touch-ups, but this is nice to have so that you're getting exactly the brand new finished product that you hope, desired, and are paying for. Next, let's talk about inspection and contingencies, right? So just because you're buying new construction does not mean you should be dropping necessarily your home inspection or any other sort of inspections, maybe like radon test contingency, especially if there's finished basement space in the unit or home you're buying, right? But if you think about it, it doesn't really make sense to do a home inspection if the construction is still ongoing on a building, right? Not only does it not really make sense, but most builders really just don't want you to do that because you're gonna be in the way of their contractors and it's just gonna kind of mess up with their flow. So the way we typically structure this is that inspections, like home inspection, any other radon test, and anything else gets done after construction is completely finished with, right? And that's to your advantage, right? Because you want to bring and pay a home inspector to evaluate the home once everything is absolutely done, so that if there is anything that needs to be fixed, the builder can do so once he declares the home done. Now, just like any other regular home inspection in a regular transaction, home inspections can still protect you. I've had actually a client in the past where, we worked with a builder, we did a home inspection after everything was done, and they actually found something that was not to satisfaction. And because of that finding, we actually backed out of the deal without any sort of damages to the escrow account, right? So these contingencies and inspections can still be in place to protect you and make sure that everything is done to your satisfaction and that there's no funny business going on. The next thing that can potentially happen in your transaction is something called a holdback, right? So, as you can imagine, there's usually the final cleanup details that occur with a construction project, but sometimes depending on the timeline of the transaction, your lender may be ready to go, or maybe you just need to close on the home and move in. So there are things called a holdback, right? And basically what a holdback is let's say again, the builder still needs to finish a couple of things, but you need to close on the home. You can close on the home while still keeping some of the funds back in a neutral escrow account, right? And basically that incentivizes the builder to finish what he promised, right? Whether it's some sort of installation or small repair or whatever it is. And until that repair or installation is not done and signed off to your liking, those funds will not be released to the builder or seller, right, until you are absolutely happy with. So that does occur in some instances, especially if the timelines are a little tight. So that is something to be aware of if you get into that situation. And finally, probably one of the biggest things to understand with buying new construction and renovations is timing can definitely be a little wonky when working here, right? Because basically you cannot close on a home until the builder's not only completely done with their construction, but they also need to have all proper sign-offs, right? They need to have full sign-offs from the city, all the permits need to be closed. You obviously can't and don't want to buy a house that still has open permits on a construction project. That's not good for you. So those things can kind of have a little funky timing, right? Especially since COVID has happened, building departments have been very funky, and it's been very difficult to get in touch with building inspectors as they're not in the office, right? So sometimes you have to go from one inspector to the other, and if they're not in the same office, you have to call them, and trying to call a city department, if you've ever tried that, is an absolute nightmare. So the point here is you're gonna have to be a little bit flexible with timing, right? Because basically everything needs to get properly signed off on by the city. That's the most important. Making sure all boxes are checked off. There's also things with timing wise, with things even like getting gas installed, right? You know, National Grid is also kind of a pain in the butt to get out to the property site sometimes and connect the gas, especially if the project's finishing up in that early spring period. You know, in Boston, that's a very, very difficult time to get National Grid out. So my point here is there's a lot of floating variables and a lot of floating components. And again, if you're gonna tackle this, I just wanna set that expectation up front that you are gonna have to be a little flexible with timing. It's not gonna be a perfect science. Building departments can definitely be a pain in the butt, and you're just gonna have to be a little flexible with if you're gonna wanna close on it. So hopefully that helps, guys. Again, I think buying new construction is absolutely awesome. You know, you're buying brand new, beautiful luxury homes. But there are certain, you know, that transaction can certainly be more stressful than others. Your timing is definitely going to be different than a regular transaction. And there's just going to be a lot more floating components. So hopefully that helps, guys. If you guys have any specific questions about the process or anything I said or, during this video, make sure you comment below and I will definitely help you out.